From Los Angeles, Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison.
I've spent a decade taking a bite out of conspiracy theories, unraveling urban legends, and grappling with worldwide top secret issues.
I've even racked up some of their awards.
Wow, first of all, what a question.
Journalism is about telling the truth, all while ferreting out the bottom line.
I'm a Harrison Hellraiser.
With me, Cary Harrison, as your guide.
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison.
And it is Rethinking Heroes. Cary Harrison here with you, your new best friend. Welcome. By the way, I am coming to you live from Berlin, Germany today. Heading back to the U.S. tomorrow, but ending up my European tour, and wanted to come to you from a place of great and important and enormous history. We're going to do something special today. Yes, we are doing a little love for KPFK. We're going to open up the phone lines as well and take your live calls and talk about the resurrection of the Democratic Party. Yes, a party that has been somnambulistic for 20, 30 years and has risen to life in a new animation. We have zeal, we have humor, we have jokes, we have laughter, we even have glee. Imagine laughing in the Democratic Party. That would be the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz side of things. And then Donald Trump, for the first time ever in human history, NPR reported today that Donald Trump had told lies. Imagine, NPR said he had lied in his rally. Now, that's not to say that I'm advocating for one side or the other, because I'm not allowed to. But I'm just pointing out a zeal that is very interesting. We're going to open up the lines. We're going to do that in about 20 minutes. But right now, I want to play for you a very interesting interview. Now, it's not an interview that I did. It's an interview that my students did, as you know, in the past couple of weeks. I was doing a unique project in Switzerland, neutral Switzerland, where these 14-year-olds, 10 to 14-year-olds, during a special summer session at Institute Montana, which is a private school in Switzerland, same place that John Cary went to. I went there and a bunch of other scallywags in the past. Well, they let me build a radio and TV station there. We called it Radio M, and teaching these young minds who are going to take over the baton, take over the world, lead humanity for you and me when we teeter gracefully into geezerdom. They're going to be in charge. They're going to be in charge of how we look at climate change. They're going to be in charge of the politics. But what do? Do they just do TikTok? Do they follow the Kardashians? Do they walk around on their knuckles? No. We actually can give them the tools to do the right thing. So that's what I was charged to do. And, let's just say, you can carry the spirit of KPFK. You can carry the spirit of what we have done together for years and put it into these young minds. So instead of just chattering about the future, you and I are in charge of making that future real for others. These are two 14-year-olds. One is from, I think they're both from Switzerland. I don't remember, but you're going to hear them interviewing a double Olympic champion. Why? Because right now the Olympics are everything, especially with war boiling the way it is all over the world, with geopolitics so corrupt, so out of control, spinning. We can look at individual countries like Hungary, where you have Viktor Orban. Talk about a Grinch, who, of course, is best friends with Ron DeSantis, gave him everything he would need to know to create all the laws, including banning books, don't say gay, et cetera, in states like Florida, all across the Deep South. These creatures and critters are walking around in kumbaya, hell-bent on bringing down the world. So these two kids, my students, got together. I got them an Olympic gold medalist, not one gold medal, 2 gold medals. Yes. And let them interview him. He reveals the life hacks that you and I need to know: how to fight things that we feel are wrong, how to stand up and grow a pair, how to survive an imperiled world. So you're going to love this. After that, we're then going to open up the lines and we're going to talk about the new revival of a Democratic Party. Will it matter? Is it exciting to you? Does it not matter? Will Trump win? Will he not win? Is he self-immolating? All that to come. But first, Let's enjoy these two. These are 14-year-olds now, not 44-year-olds, not 4-year-olds, 14. Like kids. Look how smart they are when introduced to the thinking that you and I have been enjoying for years. This is you, the listener, you and me, both of us together. This is what we have done together. Let's listen.
This is Radio M, Switzerland.
Hello and welcome back to Radio M. We are coming at you live from Montana, Institute Montana, in Switzerland. My name is Ian Diedrichsen. I'm 15 years old and I'm from Switzerland, Canada.
My name is Louis Zemp and I'm also from Switzerland and my age is 14 years.
Today we will be interviewing a very special person. He's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He won 7 international medals. And he's also a sports journalist athlete of the year winner. This is Ioannis Melissanidis.
Hello, guys. Thank you for your invitation.
Ioannis, my first question to you is, how was your path to the Olympics? How did you overcome the struggles that you faced?
Could you please repeat the question? Because our connection is not that good at the moment.
So my question was, how was your path all the way to the Olympics? How did you overcome the struggles that you faced to get here?
I'm pretty much sure you know this Greek hero Odysseus. So it's kind of, a trip to Ithaca, which means a beautiful journey. That's what counts above all. I mean, a gold Olympic medal, it's the big target. But above all is the journey and the process. And it's not an easy journey. It's a journey with a lot of injuries, mental issues. The athletes, we have a lot of pressure during the training with our coaches, especially in this kind of sport, that you start to be as an elite athlete at the age of 12, 13. So when I was 13, I was already European champion in gymnastics. And at the age of 16 and a half, 17, I was world champion. So that means that I was a student like you in a school, but I have to have on my chest the Greek flag, our national flag, and the Olympic flag, which is quite heavy, to be honest, coming from Greece especially. Because it's the birthplace of the Olympics. It was a beautiful journey, but all these difficulties that you have to face during this process, during this journey, those are who makes you a strong person and strong character. Doesn't necessarily. We the athletes fall many times. Literally and psychologically, but what counts above all, if you fall 3 times, you have to stand up the 4th time. It's always the winner is the person that is gonna stand up when it's all these difficulties, and I say no, I don't give up. I'm still training. I'm still focused to my dream.
He and I, we are both athletes as well, not as good as you are. But still, what advice could you give us if we want to step up our game, become a better athlete when we are right on that border of maybe being something better?
For me, above all, you have to enjoy what you do. If it's something that your parents want to, or your teachers want to, or they told you that you're talented on that, it's a bullshit. If you really, really want to achieve your dream, you can do it. The gold medal that I dedicate to my country, and with the help of my coach and my parents, was the first one in 100 years in Greece. It was the first ever, which means Greece was very good in sailing, for example, basketball, wrestling, swimming, but we never had any gold medal on the floor exercises in gymnastics, which means it was unthinkable. I'm coming back to your question. If you really focus to your dream, if you enjoy the process, if you eat well, an athlete, our body is our warrior machine. So you have to respect it. You have to listen to your body when it hurts, or when he needs a little rest, or sometimes you have to overwhelming your pain. you might. I mean, most of my competition is in my career. I had a serious or less serious issues. I've been competed with broken ribs, with 2 broken ribs, but I still got a world medal. I had like 4 stress fractures on my legs, 4 stress fractures on my hands, but that was something that I say, okay, that hurts. It's painful psychologically mostly because you can see the other athletes to move forward, but you have to be patient, which is another very powerful tool, to be patient and passionate in what you really want to achieve. So anybody, either if you're an athlete or you want to achieve to be the best sign to achieve the Nobel Prize in biology, you have to love it. You have to be passionate, patient, and to enjoy the process no matter what.
And how did you overcome these problems that you faced? How can we overcome these?
Well, a lot of personal work. Was very lucky. I'm lucky that I have great parents. They were always supporting my dreams. But for them, the most important was my education, and not secondary or third priority for them was my Olympic dream. They were full supporting my Olympic dream. But for them, above everything, I thought it was like a kind of negotiation with my coach, that my grades always has to be high, and then you can just squeeze him and do whatever you want. Squeeze him in training to achieve his dream and our dream, our national dream. But what counts for our son is his education. Now that I'm in that age, I can understand them 100%. Because that education built a strong foundation in my character. Because when I was already world champion, I was student in a high school. I was 16, 17. When I became Olympic champion, which means, especially in Greece, a national hero, I was just 18 and 19 years old. I was, a teenager. To face that, it was not easy with all this huge publicity. But when you have a strong education, your mind can get crazy. You can feel that you are a real hero, or you can feel that you're a Greek god. You can feel that you are a superhero because they treat you like that. So once that your education and your foundation is strong by your parents, or if you build it by yourself or with your coach, then this is some strong advice that I usually avoid to give advices. It's better to have a dialogue. So if you accept it, it's okay. If you don't accept it, it's okay again. But for me, education, which doesn't mean always high grades, of course, but a strong education, it will build your character, and you can negotiate your dream. You can, with people that they might try to step you down. You will see that you are still very young, 14, 15 years old. But in the coming future, you will meet people that will pretend they're your friends, or you will meet people that, because of the competition, they might say, "Oh, you're not good on that." And they do it specifically to break you down. But if you have a strong character, and a strong character is also it's built by education, besides your own personality, of course, then it's something that I highly suggest to you. Be passionate for your dream and educate yourself, not necessarily only in your classes and lessons, but have your ears open, your eyes open, suck everything that is around you, information, liberty, freedom. Be involved with politics in a nice way. We can have warring next to us, like what is happening, for example, in Gaza or in Ukraine, or I don't know where it's going to happen next time. Hopefully not. So we have to stand up and say, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is right, this is not right. Build your strong opinion. That's what I do in my life.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is, if you could change something that you did when you were younger, what is it? Or what would it
Nothing.
be? Nothing.
Nothing. We learn from our mistakes. I mean, that's the beauty in life. If we were just perfect, it's so boring, and nothing. How can I say? There is no beauty if you are not accept your mistakes, or if you, because then you're gonna have always regrets. Oh, I want to do that, but I didn't do that. I mean, it's better to make mistakes instead of not try. If you don't try, you don't know if you want to win or not win. I mean, nothing. Of course, you have done mistakes. I have done mistakes. I will do mistakes, but those mistakes, you learn from that. You learn from that.
And for anybody just joining us, this is Radio M coming at you live from Institut Montana Zuckerberg in Switzerland. My name is Ian Diedrichsen. I'm 15 years old and I'm Swiss Canadian. And this is my friend Louis Zemp, who is 14 years old and Swiss. And today we have a very special guest, Ioannis Melosinadis. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. He's a two-time Olympic gold medalist, won 7 international medals, and was voted by Sports Journalist Athlete of the Year. My next question to you, Ioannis, how big of a role did your parents play in becoming an Olympic champion?
Everything that I achieved in sports or in my education. I was student in medicine as well, besides my athletic career, studying also in London and in Los Angeles at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. So my parents always were behind my education. So whoever I am today, I own almost everything to them and to my coach, of course, and to myself. It's good sometimes to hug and give a big hug to ourselves, because in sports especially, we are very we punish ourselves because we always want something better and better, which is not bad, but sometimes good also to give a big hug to ourselves for whatever we try and whatever we want to do. Maybe we cannot make it today, maybe we cannot make it tomorrow, but if you still focus on your dream, it will happen for sure. Mathematically, it's gonna happen.
How was your connection with your coach? Did he help you through these phases, as you just said? Was he important in that area?
My coach is and it will be my Socrates. My coach is everything for me. There is a very special connection, mentally, psychologically. We were talking with eyes at some points, when you are, 18, 19, then he doesn't have to be always around you because you are a big boy. Then we can speak just with eyes and say, okay, do that. That was a mistake. That point your toes or twist better with just simple movements with hands. We can understand everything. And he dedicates his life 100% for my dream, which is something that I will always be very grateful for what he did. Because many people they want to help you, okay, but they prioritize, which I don't judge it, of course, the business part or the professional part. My coach, he was very focused on his professional career, of course, but he dedicated part of his life for me, to my dream. I mean, he had a family with 4 children. Many times we had to go to Russia, to Belarus, in Spain, for training camps in Germany, in Switzerland. I've been a couple of times there for competitions for training camps, which I love it. And he had to, of course, I was not an adult, so he has to be with me, and he's my coach. So many times he was away from his own family. So how can I not appreciate that?
And also, how did you deal with the stress that you got maybe from your rivals, thinking that they may be training more than you or performing better than you? How did you deal with that pressure on you?
Oh, I never see other people that they were better than me. Never. I was always
Yeah.
very confident in myself that if I'll do what I can do, I can beat them, and I prove it. I mean, in a sport that is not objective criteria, because, as I told you, it was the first gold Olympic medal, the first world medal, the first European medal for Greece in the history of gymnastics for Greece. Which means I don't have 3 eyes or 3 noses or 4 legs. I'm a one like you. I just dedicate myself, my passion, everything. I give everything. I gave, and I'm still giving my soul to what I really want to achieve. So it's everything action reaction. So if you give everything that you have, if not tomorrow, if not the day after tomorrow, it will happen. Your dream is gonna come true. So I've never focused into other athletes if they are better, but I will always appreciate that they're really good athletes. So if I can inspire from the older ones, or if I can see a technique that was better from our technique, because they were doing the same to me as well, and that was a great honor. So this is that means that you are clever enough to deal with this situation. Is exchanging information, and you always have a big respect to great athletes. But I've never felt that I have something less from them. I mean, Greece, 11 million the population. China it was second at the Olympics, 1.3 billion, right? And Russia was third. And both, besides they are a huge population, they are great academies in gymnastics. So without objective criteria, because gymnastics it's like Eurovision, guys, huh? So there is no like a measure. A long jumper jumps, and then the judge measure objectively how long he jumped. If you make a high jump, then they measure how high you jump. If you run 100 meters, there is a time criteria, objectively 100%, that you run 10.2 seconds. So the athletes on that sport, they know before if they will give their best, they will get what they deserve. Not in gymnastics, not in diving. Why? Because we have human being judges. So which means coming from a country like Switzerland, like Greece, or like Italy, that it's not a big academy in gymnastics like China, Japan, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine. It was always, if the Russians do something good, they will give what they deserve, or even something more, even slightly more. But if you are from Spain, for example, or from Switzerland, from Greece, and you do something good, you have to wait, or you have to be even more better than them in order to take what you really deserve. So which means if I did it in that sport, that there are not objective criteria, and I beat those 2 huge academies, China and Russia, you can do that, guys, too. In any field that you want, in sports, in biology, in poetry, in acting, in whatever you really want to do it, you can do it. Passion and patience.
Did they ever annoy you? Because I know, for example, I would definitely be annoyed if I was voted subjectively and I felt I did better than what I was voted. You too?
Yeah, I would say so.
How did you deal with that when you maybe sometimes felt that they didn't give you the score that you deserved? Or did that never really happen?
I was I was upset. And I say, why? You when you're young, then you face at the age of 13 and 14 the unfairness of life. Because unfortunately, La Vita è Bella, it's a beautiful movie, Oscar-winning movie. La Vita è Bella, you should see that, guys. La Vita è Bella in English means life is beautiful, which is very beautiful, of course, right? But life is always, many times, also unfair. So when it's unfair, either you just accept it, which is not bad sometimes to just accept it and wait in order to attack. Or if you really want to attack in that moment and say this is unfair, you have to fight for your work, then go for it. And I have done it. I mean, when I was in the world champion in Birmingham in UK, and I was I didn't 15 years old, and I did a really good performance, and I was expecting to be in the finals. And when you're in the finals, you are a nominee to win a medal. And then I was like a first reserve in the finals. There are 8 athletes. I was like 9 or 10th, I don't know. And I was so upset. And then my coach, he could see me, and I said, "This is unfair. I was much better than them. Why they have to be in the finals when I was better?" And then the head judge of the entire competition, at the end of the competition, they knew that they did something wrong. So he approached my coach and he said, "Your athlete is really, really good. Next time he will be in the finals if he will do the same thing." And then I reply when my coach told me. So that. This is not how things are working in my personal ethical code. But this is gymnastics. That's their reply. This is diving. I mean, when there is objective, not objective criteria, then you have either quit, which I didn't, or wait and say, "Okay, now it's my moment. That I'll prove you that that what you did last year, it was a huge mistake," and I did it.
So thank you very much for giving us your time. We have to wrap it up now. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you later. This was Radio M. My name is Ian Diedrichsen. I'm 15 years old.
I'm Louis Zemp. I'm 14 years old.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison. RethinkingHeroes.com.
And it is Rethinking Heroes. Cary Harrison with you. Notice what you just heard. You just heard a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old, my students, your students, because none of this happens in a vacuum, how brilliant they are when you train them, when you teach them, when you give them permission to shine bright. And there they were with an Olympic champion who just gave the meaning of life. Stand up for what you believe. Stand up for something. Be brave. Take the knocks. Get back up. Fight for the right thing no matter what. That's what Olympic champions do. That's who you are. That's who we are here on KPFK. That's why I want you to pick up the phone right now and make a pledge. Pick up a phone right now and call 818-985-5735, 818-985-5735, and make a donation. Support what we do here. We take you all over the world. I am live streaming on video right now, which I don't think I mentioned earlier. You can catch it on YouTube at symbol Cary Harrison on YouTube. You can just Google Cary Harrison YouTube, Cary. You can also go to our KPFK Facebook page. You will see live video streaming and be able to see the archive of the interview you just heard, a 14 and a 15-year-old interviewing an Olympic gold medalist, double gold medalist, about the meaning of life and how to stand up for what you believe in. That is the amazing power of this radio station. Now, we're going to open up the phones in a couple of minutes. Same phone number. You'll press 1 if you'd like to be on the air. I would like you to be on the air to talk about what you think of the new Democratic Party, having gone from zombieism, from somnambulism, into some kind of spine-filled erection of a party standing up strong and tall and standing for something finally against fascism. Let's just call it what it is. This, to many people, seems to be exciting. I want to get your feedback. Is this real? Same number to make a donation, 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. I'd like you to pick up that phone. Not only get on the air, but make a donation. $50, $75, $100. Why? Because we are the only game in town that does this anymore. I used to be on Air America, AM 1150. We would do this on a national level, but that's long gone. That's years ago. KPFK is the only surviving signal that not only does radio, broadcast radio, as you're hearing, but live video streaming at the same time, bringing you and the next generations of people into the future. That's why I'm coming to you right now live from Berlin, Germany. This is exciting. I mean, how cool is that? Surrounded by awesome people who believe in our same mission. This way, you know that Europeans have our back as well. Now, they're getting a different story from what we're getting in the United States. What are their thoughts and reactions to the news story, to Kamala Harris, to Tim Walz, to Donald Trump. We're going to get a little insight into that in between phone calls, but I want you to pick up the phone right now and support KPFK so we can continue being the only game in town, and that as opposed to no game in town. This show, Rethinking Heroes, and you can get our free newsletter at rethinkingheroes.com. I recommend you do that. We'll get a transcript of this show, plus you'll be able to get videos of this and other free giveaways that we're going to give you, plus whatever else I can concoct and come up with. But when you do that, you're going to support a banned show. Yes, in the South, 5 different states, this show, when it renders into an audiobook, which it does every single week on Audible, it becomes banned, particularly in the state of Florida. It is on the list. I happen to think that's awesome. It makes me horripilate in weekly anticipatory delight. We are doing something right if Ron DeSantis is banning us, if Donald Trump's home state is banning us, if Louisiana is banning us, if South Carolina is banning us. We are doing the right thing because we are fighting for the live humans on this planet. The 380 million Americans, half of whom, actually 3/4 of whom, are decent people. And if they were not decent people, if they were all MAGA, knuckle-walking Hispidulates, we would not have transportation. We would not have paved roads. We would not have running water coming out of the taps. Would we? Fact. Anywhere where there is civilization, where there is civility, there is trade, there is communication, there is education. Education is the way out, which is something we did for these 14 and 15-year-olds. We brought them not only from where they were, but into the future in a neutral country like Switzerland, built them a radio station, built them a TV station where they can now live stream and save the planet for the future. We can credit KPFK for that by picking up the phone right now at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, and make a donation. $50, $75, $100. What a good value. Talk about a legacy gift. By keeping this radio station on the air, every podcast has a permanent shelf life, like the video stream you're seeing right now. If you go to Cary Harrison YouTube, just Google that, Cary Harrison YouTube, you're going to find these videos sitting there forever. That means the signal, the messaging that we're doing, that you're participating in when you call in also at 818-985-5735, like Larry in San Pedro, who we're going to go to in just a minute, your voice will be out there permanently. So your gift, your donation to KPFK keeps these things out there, keeps this voice active, keeps the possibility of fighting overwhelming fascism lower. Because the only thing that overwhelms the bad guys is more good guys. And the only way you're going to get more good guys is if they're visible. If they're invisible, they don't matter. They don't count. They are not seen. They are not heard. Your voice is the single most important thing in my world right now. So I want you to pick up the phone and call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Make a donation, whatever you can afford right now, and keep this alive. We have a chance right now. When I say we, I mean we, the live humans, have a chance to overwhelm the theft, the corruption, the narcissism, the disgusting and vile behavior we're seeing in U.S. politics. We're also seeing all across Europe. These swine have a chance to be overwhelmed by the good people. We're starting to see some traction here. Let's keep it alive and let's not lose balance by being sloppy and lazy and invisible. Let's be like that Olympic champion, Ioannis Melasanides. 2 gold medals. 2! That's a lot. That's 2 more than I have, that's for sure. We just heard from him, and he said, you've got to show up. You've got to stand up for things you believe in. You've got to take it and win and go for it and be brave and take those risks. So that's why I'm asking you to pick up the phone right now and call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Make a donation. Make it 50, make it 75, make it 150. And know that this has a permanent shelf life and that you are reaching millions of people with that donation. It is awesome. You'll press 1 if you'd like to go on the air, 2 to make a donation at 818-985-5735, KPFK. Before I go to Larry, just a quickie. You guys are probably familiar with Steve Schmidt, former GOP bigwig, who is an anti-Trumper. He has evolved and found enormous personal illumination. I'm just going to read you a simple, quick paragraph. He says, perhaps Donald Trump was never orange after all. Personally, I'm convinced that America must never, ever have an orange president again. He talks about Trump decomposing, his decline being obvious, quick to anger, disoriented, and unable to distinguish between pretend and reality. He has essentially stopped campaigning, and though he claims to be winning, he is in fact losing. Today, NPR, and remember, I'm in Berlin, Germany, so I'm hearing a 6-hour or 9-hour delayed version. Delayed meaning that your clock is different from my clock at the moment. NPR actually said for the first time that Donald Trump was lying about the election, the previous election, that he was telling lies. NPR has never, I wouldn't even say taken a stance. They've never been brave enough to tell the damn truth. It's like mathematics, 2 and 2 are 4. They said 2 and 2 are, well, we're not going to say. This is an extraordinary moment in human history. Okay. Enough. We're going to go to the phones. But first, let me bring on Bart, my friend here, who's from Holland. And we're just going to get a quick update. I want you to, Bart, welcome, by the way, to Rethinking Heroes. You are here in Berlin, Germany.
Yes.
Sitting next to me in your apartment. Let's just say that. And thank you, by the way, for hosting this show. That is so awesome.
You're welcome.
Europeans get a different story, I think, about what goes on in American politics. So what is the most recent thing between like Donald Trump? What is your impression as a European about this guy?
Oh, impression. Well, it's in the media here all the time as well. So, and I don't know if you get a different story. That's possible. But I read the last newspaper article in the Süddeutsche Zeitung, which is one of the main independent newspapers in Germany. And they were mentioning all the lies he told, obviously, yesterday during his rally in his golf club. Apparently, there was lies all over again. But I think in Europe, we are also wondering, the guy is constantly lying, so why would half the nation vote for him?
Well, that's a question that we've all been asking each other. Yeah. And I can boil it down maybe to a simple answer. The Democrats, which would be your version of maybe a combination of the Green Party and normal people, whatever that would be in the world, they're the party of less in many ways. Burn less gas in your car, eat less meat, behave, be polite to people, help old ladies, pick up garbage, recycle. They're the party of less extravagance, less insanity. Donald Trump is the party of unlimited more. Barbecues 24 hours a day, drive a Hummer, fill it with premium gas, with diesel, pollute the air, grab women. Every woman you see, you own them. They're your property. And they don't have a right to any kind of personal agency. They are your play toy. You should be able to lie and steal, take people's property, cheat them. So it's the party of unlimited, amazing, imaginary excess and disgusgingness, drunkenness. It's like,
okay,
yeah,
that sounds quite heavy. I don't know if there's an equivalent here in.
Well, you have something called laws. Yeah, we've deregulated everything, so it's all good. Okay, but that's the kind of complicated but uncomplicated answer to why Donald Trump is so appealing to a certain segment.
Exactly. A certain segment, thank God. But well, obviously that segment is pretty big in the United States.
Yeah, with big hands. Yeah. So thank you so much, my friend. Welcome. I appreciate it. And thank you for hosting us here on Rethinking Heroes here in Berlin, Germany. Let's go to the phones at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735 as we continue streaming live on KPFK's Facebook page as well as on my YouTube channel at Cary Harrison. You can simply look that up at YouTube. Larry in San Pedro, welcome to Rethinking Heroes.
Hi, Cary. Many thanks for taking my question. Here it is. I believe that there's a fairly good chance that Trump will lose But he will definitely go to the high court if he loses, and the high court will turf the question to the House of Representatives. Can you lay out for us, please, and shine some light on what would happen when it's thrown to the House? And I'll take my question off the air. God bless you.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. I love the sound of an analog phone hanging up. It has been years, but it is music to my ears. That opens up a line, by the way, at 818-985-KPFK, where you can either donate or press 1 to go on the air. We're lucky. Right now, we have, for the first time, something called gonads that have descended from the tract in which they have sat as though we were prepubescent and impotent. We are now seeing finally a Democratic Party that has come to life. We are seeing swagger with Kamala Harris, who I've met many times in LA in the past before she became vice president. And she was a tough cookie then. She is now being a tough cookie on the public stage. Joe Biden has buried her for a number of years because nobody likes to be upstaged. And we all now know what Jill Biden's opinion of Kamala Harris was, which is why for 3 years you haven't seen hide nor hair, but she's been out on the international circuit doing this sort of quiet vice presidential, putting flowers on graves and that kind of thing. But now she is out. She has picked a vice president who Donald Trump is going crazy because Waltz, put tampon machines or whatever the form of dispensary was in various different schools in Minnesota. The beauty of this, to answer your question, Larry, is people are now connecting when Donald Trump says the word tampon, they're connecting that with Donald Trump and everyone gets queasy. The fact that they're saying creepy and weird when referring to the modern GOP, I'm not talking about the one that many of us knew years ago, the more Eisenhower version. Even the Nixonian one was a little more tolerable, had limits to its excess. But this current Trump version, which is beyond the pale in so many ways, is now exposed. It's now exposed, and maybe more than the emperor having no clothes, people are getting brave because they feel like somebody has their back. Think about it. If nobody has your back, you're not going to stand up and say anything because you're going to get smushed. And when you've been threatened by the former president of the United States, e pluribus unum, that if you do say anything, he will kill you. And how do we have evidence? A single tweet. A single tweet has brought down how many people, how many politicians, threatened them into doing exactly the wrong thing? Well, that is starting to go away. That means the tide is turning. So if Trump were to lose, sure, he would go to the GOP in the House of Representatives. Sure, there would be a lot of squawk. But I think judges who are seriously worried about being shot, their wives being raped and stabbed by a mob that might call itself MAGA, that fear is beginning to subside because guess what? The country has everyone else's back. It's starting to happen. We are starting to get permission from another side saying, let's behave. And you know what? It's not uncomfortable to behave. I behave generally. You behave generally. But there's a lot of people who don't behave generally, and they belong under the rocks, and they should be put back where they belong. Now, do I think that they are bad people? No. Do I think that they are monsters? No. I think it is a mental condition. We know for a fact that people with hard right ideology have a different amygdala than people who do not have a hard right ideology. That's a Greek, amygdala means almond, and it's part of the brain that lights up, and you have fear and panic and flee and fight and freak out, and you just want to kill everything around you because it's going to come after you, or so you think. And unless you disabuse someone of that thinking, but you can't because it is a medical condition, it is part of the hardwiring of the brain. So that's why there have to be more good people than you have freaked out weird people, or you don't have a civil society that actually operates. That's why we have things called laws. They are braking systems. They are guardrails so that people who are nuts do not have the opportunity to completely take over and destroy everything. They have to work within the guardrails. If everyone were perfect, you wouldn't need any laws, you wouldn't need guardrails. You'd have a wonderful honor system and everyone would be able to comply. But there is sweeping mental illness, there are cultural differences, and there are appetites, baby, appetites. And in our culture, which is probably the most perfect form of capitalism ever known to humankind, appetites in excess are considered honorable things. So this is one of the reasons we regulate. A good moment to pause and give out a pitch for KPFK. We do self-regulate here. We do offer money to each other as listeners. We call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, and we donate. Why? Because we keep these voices alive. We keep the ideology that you and I own the planet together, that we are one human family. So I'd like you to pick up the phone right now and make a donation, $100. $100, think about it. That will last for decades of your thinking, of what you believe in, you can spread across millions of people. Now, this is a radio station. Back in the day, let's say 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, the signal went as far as a car would drive. We happen to be the strongest FM west of the Mississippi. I'm going to say that again. We are the strongest FM west of the Mississippi. It is a powerful FM. We are one of the legacy original FMs with an almost unlimited signal. We go all the way down to Mexico. We go all the way up almost to San Francisco and out almost near Nevada, or Nevada, as we can now correctly pronounce it. It is an amazing signal, but it used to be limited to that. With the internet live streaming right now on the KPFK fan page, on Facebook, live streaming on my YouTube channel. You can just Google Cary Harrison, YouTube, boom, up it comes. You'll see this video right now. With all of that, we have an unlimited global reach. So when you pick up the phone and call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, you can press 1 to go on the air and comment on Kamala Harris, on Tim Walz, on Donald Trump. What are your thoughts? Do you see a resurrection of a Democratic Party? I mean, the last time anyone remembers any kind of activity was probably when Mayor Daley of Chicago was still alive. Do you see the machine coming alive? And does it mean anything to you? Are you inspired? Do you have hope? That's the key question. So pick up the phone right now and let us use the internet. Let us use our FM signal. Let us reach the world and help people learn and be educated. Hear voices like Olympic champions talk about the meaning of life and why it's good. I'm also going to give a shout out to Hussein from Los Angeles for pledging to Rethinking Heroes and KPFK. Thank you so much. I have a list of names here and I'll try to get through all of it. Really, really appreciate you as a listener picking up the phone and taking, well, it's not responsibility, but luxuriating in the soft folds of a positive future. You and I are the future. If we do not make this happen, it does not happen on its own. We heard that from our Olympic champion. He said, you must stand up for you believe in, for what you believe in. He is an Olympic champion, 2 gold medals. How did he get them? Not by sitting on his large curd cottage cheese rear end. He got up and self-motivated. He took responsibility. He grabbed the bull by the horns. He made it happen, a uniquely American proposition, or so we think. But this guy is from Greece. He's a European with all their unlimited, all-you-can-eat health care and clean streets and all the rest of it. I won't get started on that, except to say it's possible. Even though you're told repeatedly, especially by Donald Trump, nobody should be able to live like he does in Mar-a-Lago. Not even the MAGA people. Not in a million years are they ever allowed in Mar-a-Lago. Think about that. His fans are not allowed in Mar-a-Lago, his private country club, unless you pay like $250,000 for a membership. Now, who doesn't let their own fans in their own space? We do here at KPFK. You better believe it, because our space is your space and we share it equally. So pick up the phone right now, call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. I'm recommending a pledge of $75. I'm recommending a pledge of $100 or $125. It's chump change because you're reaching tens of millions of people. This show, banned in 5 states throughout the Deep South, will be heard on the internet because of you. That it's banned as an audiobook on Audible, we make it available through YouTube and other means. Now, of course, Audible goes wherever it goes, and the state doesn't actually clamp down on people who choose to listen. But we are on that list. You have made it possible for us to be on DeSantis's banned book list. It's a beautiful badge of honor, and I appreciate it, and I thank you for that. We're also taking calls right now, open phones at 818-985-KPFK. Plus, press option 1 to be on the studio, to get on the air, and give your thoughts about, do you think Donald Trump can win, will win? Do you think Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are actually breathing life into a Democratic Party that hasn't laughed in years? Seriously, when was the last time you saw humor? I'm not talking about comedians who might be more progressive leaning in their personal politics. I mean, the party itself having any joy, any glee, any smirk, any level of delightful effrontery. It is long gone. It has been pinkies up at tea parties. It has been lovely and polite. Well, game over. It is time for people to suit up and show up and take care of each other. That's why I'm asking you to suit up and show up and take care of each other as a fellow listener, as I am a fellow listener, and show our support for the things that we believe in. So we call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Let's get you on the air. I know people are getting confused. At least that's what I'm seeing here online, between the pledge line, between the on-air line. So just press whichever number makes sense to you. Number 2, if you'd like to donate, which is a great idea, support the station, support your fellow listener. Press 1 if you'd like to get on the air. A minute ago, we were talking to my friend Bart, who's sitting here, about what the Europeans see. Now, in the US, we hear and see what we are told and what is allowed. We are the kings of propaganda. We invented it, after all, with Edward L. Bernays, an American, back in around 1960 to 1916 to about 1925. He wrote a book called Propaganda, and in it was really the birth of the advertising industry as we know it today. And because of that, our newspapers, our TV networks are very much controlled by advertising dollars. In other words, you're never going to see Anderson Cooper suddenly actually start talking about this kind of stuff because the advertisers will pull out. And back in the days when I first started doing radio, so this is Clear Channel, if you remember, it is now known as iHeart. But Clear Channel owned pretty much all the radio stations in America. And around 1990, it was George W. Bush, George Bush I, started deregulating broadcasting and allowed radio companies to buy up all the stations. So suddenly, for the first time ever in American history, except before around 1934, they could own everything. And there were laws before where you could not own the radio station and the newspaper and the TV station in the same town. Why? Obvious, intuitive answer. If you own all the media, you get to be your own Rupert Murdoch, and then you can own all the media in every town, and your single message becomes the only message. And then you don't have much of a democracy when everyone gets exactly the same information all over the place. It is pure propaganda. Well, the Republicans under George Bush I deregulated that, followed by Bill Clinton, by the way, who nailed the last nail in that particular coffin, ironically. And so here we are today. We have 3 or 4 corporations that own all the information, and they choose to decide what to deliver. You'll remember after the miserable debate, if you want to call it that, between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, was that a debate? I don't know what that was. Nobody knows what that was. And many of you were screaming smartly, step aside, Joe. Go sit in a hammock. Have a beer. Go fishing. Really, you're okay. You're 80 plus. You're allowed. You've put in your time. Enjoy. Have some retirement. Step aside. Let some young people get in there with brass knuckles and do something good in the world. And it actually happened. You were heard. Isn't that amazing? You were heard. And so with that, getting back to the network, getting back to the ownership, getting back to Clear Channel, back when I first got in radio, we had a guy this was in Florida at the time. He was in charge of all talk programming for Clear Channel. He decided to put Rush Limbaugh on 900 stations. And it happened all within 1 week. And we'd never had this before. So there used to be something called the Fairness Doctrine. It was the law. If you had a Ku Klux Klan rally on the radio, like Rush Limbaugh, you had to have equal time. So the Rush Limbaugh show, 4 hours long, you had to have 4 hours of not Rush Limbaugh. So you would have the other side, whatever the other side would be. But you always had balance. And radio was great because it was entertaining. It was interesting. There was conflict. There were multiple opinions. It had everything going on. That went away. And now you have this saturation of minimal stuff. After that so-called debate, Anderson Cooper interviewed Kamala Harris for the first time. We hadn't seen her in years. And it was about her impressions of that debate. And she stood up for Biden, her boss. She is the vice president, but he beat the living diddly out of her. He hammered her. He choked her. He stabbed her. He beat her up. And you're going, what is happening here? It's because he assumed that Donald Trump, who had prevailed beyond a shadow of a doubt in that debate, was going to be the next president. And Anderson Cooper and CNN were preserving their existence because we know what Donald Trump thinks of CNN. That was the most beautiful example you're ever going to see of a self-serving media. We are not that. That's why I'm asking you to pick up the phone right now and call 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Make a donation much as Hossein did. Make a donation much as Tim did, as Madge did. Madge. I have an R and I have one without an R. Maybe there's a Marge and a Madge. As everyone else is doing right now, as the phones light up, make that donation, $75, $100. Support free speech radio, the last bastion of it, where we can at least get out information and then render it to millions of people on your behalf. It is a tiny little amount of money that spreads around millions of people. No advertisers saying, no, you can't say it. No network chief saying, no, you can't do that. We are here for you, and you are here for us. And we together are changing the world together. One final shout out. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much for joining me today in Berlin, Germany. We'll be back on U.S. turf in about 2 days. I want to thank Reich, our host here, who is supplying this beautiful apartment in Berlin, his partner, Bart, who is sitting next to me invisibly because they're not on camera, but they're waving. They've even supplied Diet Coke and coffee. And how much have they charged me for that? The bill will follow. Okay, excellent. And thank you, Steve, in Ojai. Thank you for pledging. Thank you, everybody, so much. Cary Harrison with you. You can go to rethinkingheroes.com, rethinkingheroes.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. We're going to get a transcript. You get copies of everything, plus a lot of cool little gifts that we're able to give you. One final shout out. Please pick up the phone, 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Throw $75, knowing you are going to reach millions of people for $75. Where else can that happen? Nowhere else. Our signal is strongest FM west of the Mississippi. Wow, a blowtorch of coolness. Thank you so much, you guys, and I will see you next week.
Listen while it's still legal. Rethinking Heroes with Cary Harrison. RethinkingHeroes.com.